Want better results from retargeting? With RTB House technology powered by deep learning, your campaigns become more efficient and precise than ever before.
With RTB House technology powered by deep learning,
inspired by biological neurons in our human brain, analyze and learn your users' behavior in real time, leading to ultra-personalized ads that send super relevant messages at exactly the right moment to your customers. Join the new generation of ad personalization powered by deep learning with RTB House.
Join the new generation of ad personalization powered by deep learning with RTB House.
Right, good day and welcome back to everybody. Welcome to the last keynote session of the second day of Ecom 2020, the virtual event. With me now, I have Marek Zmyslowski. He is the e-commerce expert and the author of Chasing Black Unicorns. And today he is going to be going through driving sales in tough times. So welcome, Marek. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Sharon, for the invitation. Just to make sure, can you guys all hear me loud and clear? Okay, cool stuff. Alrighty, let's just jump right in without further ado. I always love to speak at the end. I hope it's just like in Bible, they leave the best wine for the end. I will share now my presentation just to make sure you guys see my slides. Okay, we got it there. I can imagine that 99% of the presentations you're watching in one way or another referred to what's happening right now, right? Because not only COVID is something that affects whole globe, I think, especially so Africa and especially South Africa. What we're going through here is really unprecedented. And I want to kind of look at history, and I want to look at more positive sides of how else can we react than everyone else to what is actually happening right now. Because I'm an independent consultant, I like to think differently, and I like to say things that maybe other people don't always have the comfort to say. So I want to kind of give you some food for thought in terms of what else can we do when it comes to driving sales in e-commerce, when it comes to driving marketing in e-commerce, especially in times like this. And my heroes are the contrarians and the pirates, but I'll get to that in a second. So let me quickly explain to myself, why is this Polish white dude talking about Africa? I have been involved in e-commerce in Africa, to be precise, in sub-Saharan African region since 2012. I was one of the early employees of Jumia. I actually co-founded Jumia Travel. Then the company merged and did an IPO last year. I also co-founded a Hotel Online, which is an online travel company. It was one of the biggest in Western Africa. I don't know how it is now because I've exited it a couple of years ago. I was also the head of expansion for Glovo, which is a food delivery business. We have launched in Egypt, Morocco, Kenya, Ivory Coast, and I think I forgot one more country. And for the last couple of years, I've been involved in growing RTB House in Africa. And RTB House is an ad technology company. Those adventures in Africa, this region has given me the most extreme adventures I could ever imagine, because on one side, I was part of building this e-commerce business that ended up going public. But on the other side, I also had some problems with my Nigerian business partners who literally wanted to take over my company. And if I didn't allow them to take it, I would end up in jail in Nigeria for 21 years. And those two extremes has motivated me to write a book about it called Chasing Black Unicorns. So forgive me for my auto promotion here. You can get this book on Amazon or in exclusive books in every store or online. But I will quickly let you know my experience in the e-commerce sector in Africa, because at RTB House, we work with main retail players and main e-commerce players really in the region, with guys like ShopRite, the Foschini Group, Mr. Price, Take-A-Lot, Gumtree, and so on. We've been running different campaigns for them RTB House has been running campaigns for them for the last couple of years, and we have learned a little bit about the region. So many of my experiences also come from this particular things. Okay, let's go back to to the main topic of the presentation. Who are really contrarians? And I have a feeling that the common knowledge is like this. Contrarian is someone that just by definition is always against the mainstream. But it was never the case like this. I think because the mainstream opinions are so not thought through properly, that the contrarians actually have become those people who sometimes ask for facts and numbers and data to support certain opinion. So I think it's because of how mainstream opinion have degenerated themselves. Contrarians are considered as real, have become not contrarians only, but also the common sense followers. I would like to see it like that, and I would refer to that in the further parts of my presentation. On the other side, one of my heroes are the pirates. I've never watched Pirates of the Caribbean, but I heard that that movie was actually based on a couple of pirate characters. If I can just suggest you one video, check this video on YouTube from TEDx, how pirates changed the course of history. One of the most eye-opening presentations I've ever seen. I just want to mention two things. Pirates were not only criminals that were stealing stuff. Pirates were many times the first rule breakers that actually sometimes changed the society for better. The second guy on the right was the Black Caesar, former slave from Africa, has taken some ships and turned it into the first independence areas where other slaves could just join and have manage their own society. Anne Bonny, if I'm correct, was one of the first female pirates when in the ages where essentially women were also treated like slaves, she has created an army and self-governing micro-society of female pirates. And sometimes you got to break the rule for better. And I really see a lot of inspiration from those pirates. So I encourage you to check it out, because you might be surprised how much interesting insights we can take from their stories in running business. But let's go back to the reality. I think the reality is that every time there's a crisis, the response is always the same. All the marketing departments and all the sales departments or the management tells us to go dark and wait to what's going to happen. Obviously, I'm not talking about the crisis like it happened in South Africa, where for many weeks we couldn't even open our warehouses or we couldn't even deliver, because that's a totally different level of crisis. I'm talking about the crisis when everyone is expecting for economy to go down, people spending less, having less purchase power, and so on. I'm not talking about us not being able to technically perform our business. So what is the reality? 89% of large multinational companies stop their marketing activities. 89%. Then when you look at the slide on the right, budget commitments are delayed, 90% of cases. New hires are delayed under review in 85% cases, and so on and so on. And then when you are looking for advice, how I should react to the crisis, what are you going to see? What are you going to hear? Understand your customer, emphasize with your employees, cut down your costs, look at your margin, as if this were not the advice that you should stick to in the times when the economy is boosting, right? So I was like, can we do something deeper than that? Can we go further? And I was doing my research, and then I realized that apparently when a big reliable company that does research like Kantar does a survey and asks 35,000 customers, that was actually in the USA, so in SA it might be slightly different, but I wouldn't say by an order of magnitude different. Only 8% of customers think brands should stop advertising. So maybe the common knowledge is not that obvious. So I decided to research even further. Have there been successful contrarians in situations of crisis? Have they actually proven that you can win, not only survive, but to win your position in the next years to come after the crisis? So what did I find? Well, let's start with the Great Depression of the 1920s and the United States and the business of breakfast cereal. You probably don't know that brand at all. It wasn't only Kellogg's and Quaker. It was also a huge company called The Post, which was the category leader of breakfast cereal in the States. And they've decided to do what every company decides to do in the crisis. You probably know what's been happening 100 years ago in the States. Bigger depression than right now, and the Spanish flu as well. But Kellogg's didn't start marketing. They actually doubled down, and they grew in the middle of the crisis by 30%, and then became the category leader, and they were able to maintain that position for decades. Another case, in the 70s in the United States. In the 70s, you had huge crisis, which was related to the oil prices being crushed. And it was really hard to sell cars back then. And obviously, back then, the market leaders of imported cars in the USA, and back then Honda and Volkswagen were the leaders of imported cars. Again, they did what everyone else was doing. They stopped marketing, but Volkswagen doubled down on marketing. And it took them 5 years to leverage on that position they have built during the crisis, and they have surpassed both Honda and Volkswagen and have become the market leader in a couple of years later, in the 76. And Toyota has been the leader of the market of imported cars, as you can imagine, not only in the States, but also worldwide. What else? Fast food and quick service restaurants. There was a 2-year recession in the States, again, in the 90s. The leader was obviously McDonald's for many, many years. Pizza Hut and Taco Bell were the players number 2 and 3, always trying to pull some market share from McDonald's. What did McDonald's did do in the crisis? They shut down the marketing, they went dark, and they were waiting because they figured that people will not keep buying. Again, Taco Bell and Pizza Hut doubled down on marketing, kept their marketing budgets. And even in the middle of the crisis, Pizza Hut increased sales by 60% and Taco Bell grew by 40% from their existing sales from before the crisis. McDonald's share had to decline by 28%, not only because the whole market shrank, but he lost its market share because Taco Bell and Pizza Hut were just behind and then overtook McDonald's. As if this wasn't enough, let's look at the 2008 and 9 recession during the financial crisis. We all remember it. And Amazon has grew by 28% in the middle of the crisis. And this wasn't a crisis when shops were closed and social distancing were enforced. People could still go to physical stores. So we couldn't address that crisis with people going to e-commerce like it's happening now worldwide. Amazon decided to double down on its marketing strategies, and they actually launched a new product. Not too many people remember now. Who is crazy enough to launch a new product in the middle of the crisis? Well, Amazon did that with Kindle too, and their sales grew by 28% in the middle of the crisis, in comparison to the year before the crisis, when the economy was still booming. The years 2007 and 8, the economy was so hot, the market stocks were growing 20-30% year by year. And then everything went down, but Amazon still could grow. Another recession, again, from the States, but what happens in the States happens in the whole Europe and other regions. I believe by 1981 and 82, South Africa economy was detached from the Western economy back then, I think because of the sanctions. I don't know how it affected SA back then. I don't remember. I was born in 86. But what happened in the 81-82 recession? There was this research company called McGraw and Hill, and they've analyzed 600 B2B companies. They looked at their 2 years before the recession, and they looked at their 4 years after the recession. They've divided those companies into 4 groups, depending on how they reacted to the recession. And it looks like that black color, which represents the company that did not cut their marketing budgets during the recession, have been able to build such a difference in terms of their growth from the rest of the group just because of what they did in the year 3. So basically, the risk is if you cut your marketing spend in the middle of a recession, you might be so behind those guys who took more risk that it will take you many, many years to reach them, or maybe it's going to be too late for you. That is the risk. Which brings us to the point here, which is, again, that point is supported by the Institute of Practitioners in Advertising, although I wouldn't believe them that much because probably the Institute of Advertising is always trying to promote advertising. So the other data was more reliable for me than this one, but it actually supports what these guys are saying, that When the crisis comes, yes, of course, you should cut down fixed costs. Yes, of course, you should search for products which give you higher margins and so on and so on. But you shouldn't cut marketing costs just because you will lose share of the market if other guys have not cut their market spending. And that difference may be too hard for you to catch up with them. They might be able to build that difference and run in front of you. According to the practitioners of advertising, they say that if you cut marketing costs while others don't, while your competition doesn't, it will take you additional 4 years after the crisis is over to catch up with where you were with them before. So it looks like it costs you double when you cut marketing costs during crisis. Cut other things, cut fixed costs. Fire some people if you have to. But if you want to protect the long-term position of the company, think twice about cutting marketing costs. Okay, this is like very romanticized quote, but I wanted to add this, which was said by Sam Walton, I think the ultimate retailer. The recession, I thought about it and I decided not to participate. Obviously, we can't just pretend stuff doesn't happen, but I guess you know what my point is here, that we shouldn't always just follow the common knowledge of the market, just like contrarians. Act first. I think look for data first. Now, what has other retailers across the globe and also in South Africa or e-commerce players done that is a nice case study and a proof that they're maybe not always go against the common knowledge, but they maybe innovate faster than everyone else? Let's have a look. Well, first, a cautionary tale. Primark is like this, I would call them the H&M of Northern Europe, has always been focusing so hard on a low margin fast fashion that they've never really built any e-commerce channel. I think in that matter, South African big retailers are one of the most advanced because they already sell online. Primark has never built that. So when the crisis came down, they had actually no channel to really relate to. And although in crisis, every organization acts faster because you have no choice, I mean, to build online sales channel from scratch will be a huge problem for Primark. So I really encourage you to check that case study further. Another case, Zalando, also owned by Rocket Internet, the company I used to work for, owner of Jumia and Zando in South Africa. Zalando has launched very quickly in the middle of the crisis a marketplace option, which allows them to sell clothes not only from their own purchasing departments, but also from other offline resellers. The margin is much different, but the market was shrinking, but they were able to, because fashion industry was shrinking, people were buying less stuff in the beginning of COVID, because if you don't go out that much, you would think that you don't spend that much on clothes, but I will get back to that common knowledge again in a second. And then they didn't stop there. They also allowed their clients to sell their used clothes just to keep the part of their market and even expand how much they are involved in the fashion market. I think to launch a product like this in a couple of weeks for one of the biggest fashion retailers in Europe, you can only imagine how much they had to change their decision process inside such a huge company. But it's doable. If the biggest fashion player in Europe does it, why couldn't you do it in a biggest player in the same? Another case, Walgreens, one of the biggest pharmacies chains in the States. The problem with the pharmacies that they faced is that a lot of clients would just go to the pharmacy and they would ask the pharmacy clerk for advice as if they were almost a doctor. So if you remove, because of social distance and lockdown, if you remove that physical face-to-face consultancy, there's no growth driver for Walgreens, because there's no one to advise those clients what to buy, what food supplements to buy, and so on. So they had to quickly wake up, because they've realized that without those physical store clerks, they can't sell anything. So they launched very fast free video consultations with doctors and pharmacy clerks. The clients didn't have to pay for it because they were spending money on buying food supplements and different drugs. So to launch a video service into a big organization like this in a couple of weeks. Again, I think amazing story. Another case, Boohoo. And let's go back quickly to that common knowledge that people stop buying fashion because they have to be stuck at home anyway. Well, Boohoo was this, let's just say, the Zalando of UK, or the Super Ballist of UK. They were mostly focusing on selling clothes that you need when you go out into the city, to a nightclub, to work. But they quickly switched and they started promoting leisure wear. All those type of sweatpants and t-shirts that you can wear when you're inside the house. There's still a dress code for certain video calls, right? And although they were working in the shrinking market, they found their niche and they still delivered growth in comparison to their growth, to their size of sales before lockdown. And they were able to raise $200 million from investors. I mean, there must be something inside it if you're able to raise money from investors in the middle of the biggest crash of the fashion industry in the last couple of years, or not decades. So I also encourage you to read more about their case study to see, because probably not everything applies to Africa, right? Not many things do not apply to Sub-Saharan Africa or South Africa, but there are things which do apply. Another case, Kiabi Friends. Let's just call it maybe the Markham or Zara of France. Had a problem with online channel. They didn't do the delivery and logistics. The cost of logistics and the cost of delivery really made the purchase of their product didn't make sense for the client, because you buy a t-shirt for €9, you don't want to pay another €8 for delivery. So they have quickly launched buy and collect. Buy online and collect, not in the store, but from the car park in the shopping mall. Another very interesting case study to see how they quickly reacted. NetFlorist from South Africa. I liked how fast they have switched from delivering only flowers to even delivering groceries and many other things. I've been observing the case for NetFlorist. I liked how they have been expanding their portfolio of products in the last couple of years. And immediately when the crisis comes, they knew what's happening. People will buy less flowers, their gifts. There's less social events. They went into groceries. And great case study, and well done for NetFlorist for doing that. One of the coolest examples comes from China. I guess many cool things come from China. Many uncool probably as well. But I liked how this jeweler called Ideal have turned all their employees into influencers and live streamers. Basically, they told the influencers to take some of their jewelry home. I know it can be risky, and taught them how to spice up their Instagram account, how to do nicer videos. And they basically were live streaming with Instagram live video and Facebook video, how they are wearing the jewelry and trying to sell it to their followers. Obviously, the efficiency of such a channel is way different. But to keep selling jewelry in the middle of lockdown is a nice achievement. And I also encourage you to check out their case study more of how they turned their employees that they didn't want to fire into just walking influencers that become gradually more and more professional and doing social selling. I really like that case. And interesting case from Poland, actually. Carrefour Poland, actually also a client of one of the companies which is in the group with RTB House. They have launched a live service that allows users to go to the Carrefour, which is the grocery supermarket, to the website, and they could see how busy are their stores in different locations on different time of the day. And there was also a prediction of, okay, if you go there at 2 p.m. tomorrow, based on historical data, how many people you can expect to meet. And obviously, we're thinking about social distancing here. And they basically added a couple of lines, added some additional software that allows them to pull data of how many times the cashier sells something, because of course every transaction is recorded, right? So there was already a system in place. You just had to find a way how to extract that data to come up with these predictions. It's doable. It's not as complicated as it sounds. And what has happened is that whole Poland was going onto the website of Carrefour because people were afraid of being too close to other people which might be sick. And everyone was going into Carrefour simply because they were able to predict how many people will be there at that time of the store. And that amazing marketing activity has then created a real problem, because if everyone goes to shop in Carrefour, as you can imagine, more people are there, and then you see that there's too many people. But by seeing how many people are there live, you can plan you going to the store fast in the future. So an amazing example of really solving the social distancing problem that turned out to be one of the best marketing activities they could come up with in the middle of lockdown. And I think this should be one of the most eye-opening case. This is a screenshot from a dashboard from one of the campaigns that I'm involved in. And basically, average CPC went down, which is cost per click when we are acquiring users, went down from $1.78 to $0.49. And this is the most mind-blowing thing. The average cost per conversion was around $46. It was a shop that was not selling the cheap stuff, let's just put it this way, a little bit more expensive electronics and fashion. But the cost per conversion went down by 50% to $20. Obviously, the market has shrunk down. Not as many people kept buying stuff in the middle of lockdown. But for those who are still buying, it was much easier to get to, just because everyone else was going dark. So you always have to watch out, okay, the market may be going smaller, but maybe you're able to increase your pie of the cake. Cake is smaller, but your pie is increasing. That's my point, I guess. And another case. Well, I believe that one of the biggest winners of the whole fashion crisis will be Inditex. I might be biased here. I will tell you why. But Inditex basically has been shutting down their stores. The plan is to close 1,200 stores worldwide. But they're not doing this because they're going bankrupt and they have to protect themselves and so on and so on. No, they are doing this because the money they're going to save on running the store, they will put this into online marketing. And I know that because RTB House, the company that is close to my heart, has been running the campaigns for them. And obviously, we can't share the data. But what I can tell you is that Inditex, with focusing on online sales, can be one of the biggest winners of the whole fashion crisis worldwide. And another thing, if at the end of the day, if we think that we shouldn't promote our products because we think that clients will not buy, or even we are afraid that clients will be upset that we are promoting instead of emphasizing with their problems, well, find out, because you have the technology in place. RTB House, for example, is doing this, where you can put a banner which is not going to promote the products until the clients will answer the question, how are you feeling? Real time. And if he clicks on the banner, he's feeling great, then you show him the product. And if he's clicking on the banner, he's not feeling great, you show him some COVID-related support information or something like that. There are already technologies available for you to real time change the communication to the client depending on his emotional state. And then once you know that there's this group of the clients who actually feel great, you want to show your advertisement to them because you want to still grow the sales. And then once you're able to define what type of people are actually okay, then you can run not only retargeting, but also lookalikes campaign and search for more of people like the ones which are not bothered. Because if they represent certain demographic, there's a high chance that the similar demography will also not be bothered. And these are your new priority targets of clients. And this was the last, and actually Bidder Bias is already experimenting with from South Africa with this solution. So I encourage you to check them out. And that was all I wanted to share with you. A couple of thought-provoking things, I hope. I like to call it food for thought. If you're interested in checking out more about all those things, I encourage you to check RTB House or just connect directly with me to talk about what else can be done in these times. You can easily find me on social media or on one of these websites. I think Chasing Black Unicorns is the easiest one to remember. And that's enough in terms of my presentation. I did it in 30 minutes, exactly how I planned. I'm so happy. And I guess, I'm not sure, Sharon, if you're here, we can jump directly to the questions.
Yes, absolutely. I'm here. I don't know
sure.
if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect.
Not sure
I
if
don't know
there
if
are
anyone
any
has.
questions. Yeah.
Yeah, can't see anything from my side. So if you do have any questions, please ask them now in the chat section.
Yeah,
Or
just reach out to me later.
Absolutely happy to do that.
Yeah, I think we are good because I don't see anything coming in.
All right. Well, if you do have any questions, I will put Marek's email address up in the comment section, and you can contact him directly from there. Just want to say a very big thank you to you. I appreciate the time that you have spent, and the presentation was really, really insightful. Thank you so much for all of the stats.
My pleasure.
Thank you. To everybody, please stay tuned. We will be starting our live panel in 30 minutes. So please stay tuned and register for that on the registration links that have been sent to you. All right.
Cool.
I'm going to...
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.